Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter. I'm joined by Tim. This is a horror movie podcast, and this specifically is our horror movie news, which we've not done in a couple of weeks. Partially just down to the fact that there was a kind of quiet period for horror movie news, which they made up for this week because we have like 5 trailers to talk about at the end of this, on top of whatever news happened to pop out this week. So we got plenty to do and plenty to talk about, so we'll get straight into it. First things first. So just a few weeks ago, we talked about The Wolfman, starring Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
We have a very important new detail to add on to this, which I don't know if I saw coming, which is that Leigh Whannell is now in talks to direct the movie, which is kind of exciting given that he just did Invisible Man, and Invisible Man was pretty good. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, the last couple of movies he's done have all been pretty good. And yeah, I think we mentioned it before. They started to become, a bit of a name that, you kind of perk your ears up when you hear he's doing something. So, yeah, the Wolfman was already looking pretty exciting, but now this is kind of just like a little, icing on the cake. So, yeah, this is cool.
yeah, he's a director that, he did Insidious 3, and it was kind of this weird thing because he was taken over from Wan, and he used to work with Wan, and it was this kind of passing of the torch. It was like, oh, I wonder what he's going to do. And I was like, you know what, that was actually a pretty solid sequel, and I liked it more than Insidious 2. And then Upgrade was a solid little sci-fi action movie, and then Invisible Man was really solid, and I'm kind of excited to see his career develop as a director, because he's actually pretty good. So yeah, not much more to say. Wolfman is coming.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's kind of on our radar before, but now it's definitely something that we'll be on the lookout. Obviously, like, still seems to be super early, so who knows what'll come of it, but definitely look forward to hearing more about it.
well, Universal Blumhouse stuff tends to happen. I feel like
That is true.
very rarely do they seem to fall through. Speaking of Blumhouse, at that. And speaking of perhaps something we often do, which is Stephen King, we have a story here. So Stephen King's new collection, If It Bleeds, one of the stories in that, Mr. Harrigan's Phone, there's apparently a film in the works at Netflix, or for Netflix, I should say, and it's been developed by Ryan Murphy, who, of course, worked on American Horror Story, Scream Queens, and a bunch of other stuff. But that's the sort of more horror-related things that he's done. And Blumhouse are also producing it as well. So this is the story description. You might know this because you read a lot of Stephen King. But so the story follows a young boy who befriends an older billionaire who lives in his small town neighborhood, and they bond over the man's first iPhone. What a weird. But when the man dies, the boy discovers that not everything dead is gone, and he finds himself able to communicate with his friend from beyond the grave by leaving voicemails on the iPhone that was buried with him. Okay, a little bit of a You've Got Mail situation with a young boy and a old man.
What? Okay.
Well, You've Got Mail was all about how they could leave letters for each other, and they would. This was a fine reference. This was a fine reference to make. Damn it! Stop me look like a crazy man. How dare you?
All right. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I don't know if I've seen that movie, but yeah, this is a super surprising like news when I heard about it earlier in the week, because it's like I have read this collection. I'll be honest, it wasn't really my favorite. And this story in particular, it's not a bad story, but it's not. I would not call it like horror by any means. So it like, because it is like more of a it's more of like a folksy kind of like tale with like a little bit of like supernatural element, but it is more of a like this kind of, the kid's kind of like an assistant that helps this old man, and then it gets him like an iPhone, even though the old man is like, oh, I don't want this new technology, and then he kind of helps him show, but oh no, but look, you can like check your stocks on it and do all this and that, and then the old man kind of gets into it, but it's more like kind of feel good kind of thing. And then once he dies, then there's like a little bit of a supernatural element to it, but it's not, again, it doesn't venture too much into like horror territory, which makes it like, I'm not necessarily surprised that they're adapting it, but the fact that it's like Blumhouse and Ryan Murphy, who even if they are gonna go like horror or something for it, like I can't imagine like Murphy's like aesthetic, because his stuff is very like fast paced pop culture kind of sexy, which does not like make me think of the story at all. So I don't know if they are gonna be like faithful, or if they have some idea to maybe do something different with it. I'm very intrigued by it, but yeah, I can't really imagine how it's gonna work out.
Well, it's a short story, right? So I mean, the lately
Yeah,
will expand upon it to fit
for sure.
to fill at least 90 minutes of screen time here. They're probably going to have to expand and sort of take it places and have maybe more of a story that goes past the original point. If I told you that John Lee Hancock was writing and directing, would you be excited?
Uh, I don't know who he is off the top of my head, so
If
you
I
have to
told
give me some more.
if I told you that he directed The Blind Side, would you then be excited?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. That movie's fine. I guess like that does have more of the feel of the short story, so I guess
Sure,
that works.
sure. I never saw The Blind Side, but the general consensus of what I saw was that it was the movie about Sandra Bullock curing racism.
Sure.
So, uh,
it is definitely like a touchy feely, let's feel good kind of movie.
hmm. So moving on then, something a little bit different here. So Universal's got a bunch of Universal monster movies in the work. We just spoke about the Wolfman a minute ago. So there's another project to add to the list, because we've had tons of these. We've got the Reinfeld one, we've got Invisible Woman, we got this Dracula movie from Karen Kusama, blah blah blah. All these things, most of which are honestly kind of promising, or at least interesting. Add this to the interesting column, I'd say, is that
Okay.
Josh Cooley, who worked on Toy Story 4,
Okay.
I know, you're not expecting that, will direct Little Monsters, which is described as an all-ages approach to the studio's classic monster characters. So this is going to be more of a kids' movie, but it's a kids' movie about the Universal monsters. So,
Okay.
sources have described it as a love letter to classic Hollywood and the history of filmmaking, with a story that takes a multi-generational approach to the monsters.
Is it does it say if it's live action or animated?
It doesn't, which to me would say it's probably live action if they didn't specify.
Okay. Yeah, because that sounds like it could be interesting. I I feel like I'll be like a lot less interested if it's like an animated thing. And I like animated movies. Just I don't know, like if it's modern animation, then that probably means it'll be CGI, which I don't like as much. But then, yeah, it's I mean, still could be good, but yeah, just would interest me less. But hey, that sounds cool.
Yeah. I'm kind of down for it. Even if it's animated, I'm kind of down for it, I suppose. What's funny is that I actually, for reasons that I don't want to get into, I just watched Ed Wood over the weekend, and
Okay.
I'd never seen it before.
Makes it sound like someone like had like a gun to your head or something.
So, but the point I'm making is that if you've seen that movie, because I'd never seen it before, obviously. I mean, why would I watch a Tim Burton movie twice? Come on. But is Bela Lugosi's a character in that, and there's a lot of stuff about how much he hates Boris Karloff. So I'm reading this description, and all I could hear is him going, "F Karloff, you didn't deserve to smell my shit," all that stuff. So. But hey, this is a fun idea, and I'm amazed at how many projects we currently have. Because even though they're not a shared universe or anything, there's probably 7 or 8 films now in the works that are all Universal monsters in some way. There's that Paul Feig one, So hopefully these all become a thing, and we get a nice diverse array of movies that do different things, and we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are just like so obsessed with IP and something that's recognizable, and since well, Disney and WB have their stranglehold on the comic book world, so we'll just take whatever we can. Like, what else do people know exists? And then it's like, all right, yeah, I guess these are the thing.
Yeah, I feel like there's a sort of panic at all the other studios, because obviously Disney have Marvel, they have Pixar, they have Star Wars, they have Indiana Jones, they've got a bunch of stuff, right? And now they have even have Alien and Predator and stuff like that, because they got Fox and Die Hard even, right? And then Warner Bros have DC Comics, and they also have Harry Potter, which is the other big cash cow, and they have some other stuff in there. And then you go to the other ones, and it's kind of like, okay, what do Universal have? They have the Universal Monsters, they have Back to the Future, and they have Fast and the Furious, and that's, like,
yeah,
it kind of feels like you're trying. Paramount have Mission Impossible, and Star Trek, I guess. Like,
sure.
which is a big thing for them, but it's nicely been big in movies for a while, right? They're doing a lot of TV shows for Star Trek, and they're having a blow with that, but. It's kind of funny looking at some of the other ones. Sony are so desperate to have Men in Black be a consistent thing because they have nothing else going. So I don't know. This is interesting. In fact, they hit gold with Venom apparently, so we're getting tens of Venom movies.
Yeah,
look forward to that. Oh jeez. I don't know if we should have reviewed that. Was that a horror movie enough? I don't know. It was definitely a scary experience. I don't know. I don't know if horror's quite the thing for it. But let's move on then to the next story. Joe, we never reviewed Bird Box. For some reason, we never actually did Bird Box on the show. But I assume you saw it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. It was fine. It wasn't great.
I like the book a lot. But yeah, the movie was just okay.
It was just okay, yeah. A couple of alright moments, but it was kind of a bit of a slog in places. So there's a sequel to the book. It's called Mallory, and that's on its way very soon, July 21st this year. So just a couple of weeks away from having the sequel, and they're already in early, basically development of doing a movie of it. Presumably, I can't actually see if it says Netflix here, but I would assume Netflix are the ones doing it, given that they did the first movie. And Sandra Bullock's character is in the new book, so it may be a big deal if they got her back, to do it. But I mean, they're Netflix, so I suppose why can't they at this point? Like I suppose the days have been surprised that Netflix can afford big directors and actors. I mean, they've got a Scorsese movie, for crying out loud.
That's true.
So I suppose the days to be surprised about that are long gone. But yeah, so apparently, this was just the writer, when he was talking about the book, was basically saying, it's happening. The talks have started about doing the sequel, and the Bird Box got a lot of buzz when it came out. I feel like Netflix movies tend to, like, every few weeks there'll be one that gets a little bit of buzz for about 10 minutes, and then it'll disappear. You'll never hear about it again. The old guard's kind of doing that right now, which I'm pleased about, because I like Greg Rucka, who wrote the comic book that it's based on. But I mean, I feel like no one's going to be talking about the old guard in a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like, pop culture is a little bit more flash in the pan nowadays. Like, there's definitely stuff with staying power for sure, but yeah, a lot of stuff is the weekend is the thing, and then after that it fizzles down.
Which is annoying from a reviewing perspective for us, because by the time we hear about people are interested in the movie, it's like, oh well, the time's passed now. We're already already too late. Oh well.
Especially when they have, like, different release dates for us, and it's like, oof.
Oh sure. Well, I'm thinking more Netflix movies where, like, no one even talks about them until the day they're on, and then they talk about them that weekend, and then by the time you're like, oh, we should do it next week now that we know this is a thing. By the time we get to it the following week, no one's talking about it anymore. It's gone. No one cares.
Yep. I feel like that's the story of my life. Like, every time I get into something, I'm like, hey guys, like, I'm finally watching Hannibal now, and people are like, oh, we don't care about that show anymore. Oh well.
Yeah, but I finally got Matt watching Doom Patrol, and he's loving it. So
nice.
I'll take the wins where I can get them.
Cool.
Take the wins. So yeah, that's the Bird Box sequel. I mean, here's a question: see if they do the sequel here on Netflix, do you think they're going to just call it Mallory, or will it be Bird Box : Mallory, or Bird Box 2 or something?
Yeah, I can definitely see something like that, because the first one was so like a lot of people were, I forget what the deal with it was, but I remember it was like very memey. Like, a lot of people were memeing it and stuff, and so yeah, they'll probably want to keep the the word in there if they can.
And almost killing themselves by doing the challenge.
Oh yeah.
That was the thing. People were blindfolding themselves, and remember when that was like the concern, is that people might kill themselves doing the Bird Box challenge, and not everything in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, people had no problem putting a mask over their eyes for a challenge, but
yeah, actually, they just enacted like, it's mandatory now that anyone going into a store of any kind here has to wear a mask, and sadly, it's not going down well with everyone who walks into a store.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I feel like I mean I know a while back, like in California, I think the governor did make it like mandatory that people have to wear one, but yeah, so many people just don't seem to care. Like I don't know, like we still walk our dogs or whatever, drive to the store if we have to, and just see like so many people without them. It's insane.
I admit when I go out for just a walk outside, I don't wear a mask because I just like I'm just keep my distance from everyone. I don't go near anyone.
Yeah.
But if I'm going inside a building or a vehicle with anyone, like the mask is going on. Like,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Just to get topical there for a second and date this episode very specifically.
For sure.
I mean, it's a news episode. The news episodes are dated by the mere content that they have, but that's besides the point. HBO Max is developing an original movie. So this is the thing. We have HBO Max making movies now to contend with. So they're developing a satirical horror tale called Shell. That's Shell.
Okay.
So Max Minghella, who worked on Teen Spirit, which I never saw, but that was like an artsy looking movie with I think Dakota Fanning and there's like a singer. It was called Teen Spirit. The trailer for that was actually surprisingly kind of atmospheric. I never actually got around to watching the movie. Maybe I will at some point. But he's been attached to direct a spec script that was written by Jack Stanley. The logline is it's under wraps, but sources are saying it's a satirical horror with sci-fi elements set in the health and beauty industry.
Okay.
So not a lot to go on. I think the bigger news here is that HBO Max are just straight up doing movies as well as original TV shows. So something else for us to maybe keep an eye on as times develop. But that's an interesting setting for it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like a ton to go by, but could be good.
Yeah. So let's talk about Halloween Kills, because we had Halloween Kills news this week. Joe, it bugs me. Right, so the news here is that it get pushed the whole year. It's been pushed to October 2021, which is why anything that thinks it's coming out in August or September this year, I'm like, yeah, you're basically not, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're taking a big hit in your box office, because I believe that LA just like stopped or reclosed the theaters again. So
I mean, I don't know if they were ever actually open. I know for a while they were saying like. They were saying they were going to open.
Well, the point is the planned reopens have been stopped there again, right? Yeah. It's like it's not happening now, because numbers are spiking obscenely. But so they've moved a whole year, which seems fairly safe. Like October 2021. All right, we may be fine. Movie theater wise by then. Who knows? But so. Maybe we'll get to see some movies in theaters again, but so that's the delay. But accompaniment, did you see the short teaser they put out? They put to try and soften the blow of this delay. They put out like a little teaser trailer, kind of essentially.
No, I didn't.
Right, well, I'm going to tell you what it is because there's not much to it. I will say there is, and just because it's a sequel here, I have to spoil the ending, or at least imply some spoilers for the end of the first one. So, well, I say first one, the 2018 movie.
Right.
So all the teaser is if you remember the end of the first one, they leave the house and Michael's burning in the house in the basement, and they hop onto the back of a truck, and the final shot of the 2018 movie is like the three generations of Strode just sort of like collecting themselves, just sitting in the back of this like farmer's truck or whatever it is, and that's kind of the end of the shot. This little teaser is just them in the back of this truck still. They're still sitting there quietly, and they hear sirens, and it's an ambulance like going the opposite direction. And Jamie Lee Curtis just starts yelling out, "Let him burn, let him burn," as the Halloween theme starts playing. And it's really simple. It's not a lot. And Joe, what bugs me about this is that I actually think it's a really effective little teaser. And I'm like, don't get my hopes up again, because the trailers for the last one made me think it was going to be good. Sure. And I got burned hard. So I hate you, Blumhouse, for doing this to me. I hate you so much. But
so wait, so what is in the teaser?
It's just her screaming. Sorry?
Oh! It's just her screaming, "Let him burn."
Yeah, let him burn as the ambulance is driving towards the house, basically. Basically telling you this is how he's going to survive, is that the paramedics and the fire trucks get there in time to save him. So he's going to be a badly burned 70-year-old who's still going to be strong enough to go and hunt Laurie, which is fine. Like, I've always been a person who's seen Michael Myers as kinda supernatural. Kinda.
Yeah.
So it's fine, but But I actually thought it was an effective little teaser that I know I'm going to end up being disappointed by when I see the movie.
I do maybe this October I'll go back and rewatch the 2018 Halloween, because um like you said, it was pretty disappointing, but I do wonder now. I only saw it the one time in theater, so I am curious if I rewatch it, with lowered expectations and knowing what happens, will I be able to maybe, I'm still not gonna love it, I'm sure, but maybe appreciate it a little more and be like, okay, like I've made my terms with it. It's fine, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of curious, because I'm sure I'll give it at least another shot at some point.
Yeah, no,
but
we'll see. Maybe I'll give it another shot before the new one comes out. But that's that. Next up, Train to Busan sequel Peninsula, or Train to Busan presents Peninsula, as some of the trailers are calling it now, which is such a clunky thing. It's like when they added Twilight Saga to the start of every Twilight sequel, yeah. So basically, we got a loose release date here. We got August 7th. So we'll see.
Less than a month away? Okay.
Yeah, is what they're saying just now, and they're saying that it's going to be coming to Shudder in 2021, and that'll be the streaming home. So they're saying that it's going to be opened on 150 screens across the US and Canada, and maybe that's not that obscene a prediction. Like, maybe if let's say 100 of those are drive-ins. Sure. And then you have some towns and stuff that aren't as badly affected, so they're maybe like letting the theaters open. So it's just possible to get, because keep in mind that a big Marvel movie or whatever will typically debut on something like 4,000 screens in the US alone. So
yeah,
it
seems like a surprising movie that would do it, though, especially like I guess drive-ins and stuff, it could work, but I don't know if there are small theaters that are opening and stuff, like is there one of the big first opening movies going to be like this foreign movie that maybe not a bunch of people have heard of.
Although arguably all the people who would want to brave the movie theater early would be the hardcores who might care about your foreign. Although I do think it's a bit weird that I'm going to brave a pandemic by going to see a movie about a zombie virus that is a pandemic in and of itself. It feels like a bit of a weird. That said, not quarantine. Contagion was doing really well on the streaming services when all this started. So I mean, who knows? People are gluttons for punishment.
Yeah, I do think it's funny. Like, people do kind of have maybe a dark sense of curiosity or something when something like that happens. Yeah, you go back and watch that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it definitely does seem weird, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure when we'll get to cover this per se. I hope we don't have to wait till it hits Shudder. I'm hoping it'll be rentable, later this year, so we can do it in a reasonable time frame. But
for sure.
So that's Peninsula. Apparently coming to some theaters next month. We'll see. Speaking of delays, we're in a sort of release date section here. The Forever Purge, which is the 5th Purge movie. Yeah. It's funny, we just never did the 4th. I mean, we've literally never talked about going back and doing it because we just don't care.
I've seen it. It's the same as all the other ones.
I'm so just uninterested in Purge movies at this point. But yes,
I think they're all watchable, but it's just when you don't have anything else, you can just turn on and be like, oh, okay, that's fine.
It's like a bland VOD movie. They got a bunch of sequels for some reason. And it just keeps happening again and again. Even though I thought 2 and 3 were better than the first one, it still kind of feels like it's just not something that I'm enthusiastic about.
I mean, we even watched a TV show. I think that was during the early days of quarantine.
Can I just make this very clear that Tim meant we as in him and his wife? I did no such thing, right? No such thing. How dare you?
It's fine. It's fine. It's whatever. But that
was
the early days of quarantine where it was all right, just whatever we can entertain ourselves with.
I have a question. Is it all set during one purge, or is it the build up to a purge and then the purge happens later in the season?
No, it's all set during one. It works exactly like
24?
Another movie. No. It's just another movie, just more spread out. You start off a couple hours before, and then for some reason you always have it always seems like there's some couple that always forgets it's the purge day. Oh crap, we got to get home. But
That's so funny, Amy.
the show's not like horrible. Like I thought it would be bad. It's like
It has,
it's fine.
it has to be close to real time though, because if it's like 10 episodes and it's like all set in the one night,
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because I just imagine like the 24 clock coming up, like actually doing it in real time, like do. It's 3 a.m. We've got 4 hours till sunrise. Like, anyway, so yeah, the news is that's been delayed. That was meant to be out on July 10th, which is what, 2 days ago. At the time of recording, is actually now going to be coming on July 9th, 2021. So this is another one that get pushed a whole year. So this shows you what Universal are feeling right now with release dates, is that they didn't even think about pushing this to like October. Say they said no, we're just going to push this a whole year. Though admittedly, I think it might actually be like July 4th kind of related, the theme of it. So maybe they want to have it that time of year, but still. Because as worth mentioning, the next thing we're going to mention is that is also a Universal delay. This one's not as severe, but Candyman, which was originally coming out in like May or June, got pushed to September 25th. It's now been pushed again to October 16th, which is not a big delay, and maybe is more suited because it's Halloween month,
Yeah.
So we'll see. This is taking the date that Halloween Kills had. So I wonder if the reason why Halloween Kills got pushed is because maybe they still have some work to do on it that they couldn't finish in time. And obviously with Halloween, a Halloween movie, you have to release it in October. Like, there's no point in releasing Halloween in June. It's just stupid, right? Yeah. So Candyman's taking the Halloween date because they figure, well, that's our Halloween movie now, is Candyman, which is fine, I guess. So
I mean, this is a tough one because it's like, yeah, just stop like toying with us. Just release it in 2021. But at the same time, I want to see it so bad that it would hurt if I see a that big of a delay.
I'm not convinced that even this is going to stick. I'm not convinced that October 16th is definitely going to be the time for it. I mean, it's far enough away that it feels like it's possible, but I'm not. It's not. Like, I wouldn't say it's lately at this point. So. We'll see. I
mean, if any of these do get released in theaters, like I don't even know if I'll actually like end up going to see them, but at least if they get released, and then that means they'll be released on VOD sooner than later. So at least I can watch it sooner.
I do wonder how many of these movies that keep getting delayed, like if any of them eventually do cave and say, all right, you know what, $20 rental VOD, just we have to start making money at some point.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot of these, I probably would do that. Like Candyman, for sure, I would do that because I'm really excited for that. And then like, if they did that with Halloween Kills, like, I'm not necessarily excited for that, but I am interested enough that I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it would be about the same to go see it at the movies anyway, so why not? Like, I don't know. I'm surprised more people haven't been doing it.
Yeah. If that translated to about £15, like that would be a bit more expensive for me. That's like maybe 50% more expensive than a movie ticket. But
well, like
I get it.
Yeah, it's more expensive if it was just me, but the fact that like I usually go with my wife to the movies, so it actually ends up being cheaper in the long run.
It sucks for being a solo person, but for any people who go with more than two or more even, it ends up probably saving money by just doing the $20 rental.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Obviously, the big reason why they don't want to do that is because it means immediately there's going to be a HD quality pirated version immediately available on the internet, and that's why they really want to avoid doing it if they can.
Makes sense.
We'll see. So that is that, and then speaking of release dates,
I'm gonna bootleg it for sure. I'm gonna like tape it when I watch it on my TV.
Tim's not talking about like hooking up like a Blu-ray recorder. He's going to have a camera pointed at the TV screen to get that real authentic pirated feel.
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear my dogs barking throughout the
movie. So yeah, there's actually a movie that got release date here, but this is not a theater release date, so this is actually happening. So this is on Shudder on July 30th, a new film called Host, which is a Zoom horror movie.
Interesting.
And by Zoom, I mean the Skype-like program for video calls. So, Joe, is so funny. I actually was thinking this just this week, that if Unfriended hadn't happened yet, like it would hit so big right now if they'd like made it during quarantine.
Sure.
Like just a bunch of people got together and it basically did. Maybe I had to change a couple of small moments because they didn't have like a crew or special effects in the same way, but like they could make that like you know, a group of people could make that just with their computers. Hell, we could make an Unfriended style movie if we wanted to try acting, but
yeah, like I had a friend that just watched like Unfriended for the first time, and he kept saying like, how are there not like 50 more of these movies coming out right now? Like it's kind of like I'm very surprised that something that it seems like would hit so big now and be so easy to make and like a lot safer than like you know a bunch of other stuff that I'm surprised we're not getting like 50 of these knockoff movies at this point.
yeah, I mean, it is worth mentioning production for some stuff in some locations has started again. I know the UK, like the Batman movie started filming again. The next season of something's filming. I know New Zealand's put some exemptions through for certain things that were filming there to continue, because New Zealand, as you know, has actually managed to almost entirely avoid the whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just interesting to see. So, but anyway, so yeah, so this movie is coming. It's called Host, and it's a Zoom-based horror film from Rob Savage. What name? Who did? I think I'm reading this right. This looks like a typo, but I assume this is a real thing. Dawn of the Deaf.
Okay.
So it's coming July 30th. It's commissioned, written, produced, and set to be released in under 3 months. So yeah, this was all shot in quarantine. This is what your friend was talking about. This is the quarantine-produced movie where everyone's just on Zoom. So
I mean, like, I'm not totally against it because we liked Unfriended. So if I mean, this sounds like a bit reactionary, so maybe might not have as much thought and stuff.
I kind of appreciate it though, in the sense that even if this is bad, I'll appreciate that someone tried to be creative with the situation we're in. Like after the first Unfriended, I remember saying that okay, that was a surprisingly really good, but I never want another one again. And then 2 was actually fairly solid with a couple of things I didn't like about it, but I think if there's one reason I will accept a lot more of Unfriended style movies, it's this situation where, okay, this is what we can do, so let's all try to do the best version of this that we can. And yeah, so yeah, we're going to get it. So Host is a story of 6 friends who hire a medium to hold a seance over Zoom during lockdown. But they get far more than they bargained for. As things quickly go wrong. When an evil spirit starts invading their homes, they begin to realize that they might not survive the night. Do you know what I think is so weird about this? This is going to be like the first movie we see that references what's going on. Like, because we've not had that yet. You know, we've not had a movie that's referenced. Because let's face it, this is kind of a big, like, monumental moment in human history where it's going to be like 9/11, where people reference, the thingy virus from that year, that 2-year period where we were all wearing masks and we were all under lockdown for large portions of it, and this thing we all lived through. It's going to be this monumental thing. So people, it's going to be referenced in stories and movies forever after this.
I saw someone like had a tweet before where they were just like showing all these screenshots from all the different headlines about like these different like pandemic sitcoms that got like greenlit, and it just seems like like I don't want to see any of these. Like like I mean, it's I'm sure that there will end up being like some interesting art that comes from this, but yeah, it'll definitely be, I feel like we'll have like a glut of it at like kind of like early on that I'm not really interested in, but yeah, it could definitely be cool stuff.
So that's coming. What did I say? July 30th. And the actors all operate their own cameras, help pull off their own practical effects, which makes sense because they're all shooting this from their own homes. So
yeah, it sounds interesting. Yeah, be happy to give it a shot.
Very intrigued. The video quality from the screenshot they posted here looks very good, because everything I've seen from people recording podcasts on Zoom, it's all looked very bad. So what I assume they did is they had everyone record their own camera locally. Kind of like how I make Tim record his own audio locally so that his audio sounds good, and it's not the Skype quality. So, hey, what I'm saying is we already nailed the technical side of this, all right? Just FYI. All right, moving on. Another release date thing, kind of the opposite of a release date. So Saint Maud, which was meant to come out in I think April. This is the A24 horror movie that looked quite good from the trailer. It got a new release date for July 17th. However, it has been now pulled from release schedule and with no new date, so we don't know when this is coming now. But it was meant to be coming on July 17th in theaters, and is now not there.
What's weird is like I was listening to a podcast who was talking. I think it was about Saint Maud, because there were like some there were like the people on it were reviewers, and they were talking about how they saw an early screening of it, and they had like, they wanted to write reviews for it, but for some reason I think this is A24. I think for some reason they're like, making everyone, what do you do, like sign an NDA or whatever, like, no, you can't like, review it until we say so. And for some reason they've been like holding back on reviews for some reason, even though the people I've heard talk about all said like it's good, I liked it a lot, but they won't let us put a review out, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I guess they want all the reviews to hit like when it's like a week before release, so that people are thinking about it. If the reviews all go out now and then it doesn't come out until like November, then
Yeah, it's just the thing is kind of weird about it, though, is it's like the people that have seen it, they're like, well, I mean, I can't review it now because it's been like months, so like I can't really properly like it's not fresh in my head anymore.
Well, I would assume what they should have done is written their reviews at the time and just sort of have it on ice and wait for the time they get to reveal it to the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird. So.
But yeah, I mean, this is a weird one though. That it's like I'm not sure why. I mean, no offense. Like, I mean, I like A24 movies, but they're not like big blockbusters. Like, I don't know why this isn't just on VOD.
Yeah, it feels like one that if anything's going to cave, it might be this one.
Yeah.
I'm saying that as if the movie itself is what caves, so obviously it's not. But
right.
So we'll move on. So we're on to trailers now. We have 5 trailers that we're going to talk about. They're basically making up for giving us almost nothing last week. So the first trailer we're going to talk about is Ravage, which is coming to select theaters, sure, and VOD on August 21st. So this is a August release. In the film, Annabelle Dexter-Jones stars as a nature photographer who witnesses a violent crime while alone in the woods. After being captured by the culprits, she uses her survival skills to take them out one by one. It also stars Dr. Sleep's Robert Longstreet. So we had a trailer for this year. What did you think of it, Timmy?
It didn't really do anything for me. It just seems like kind of like typical, like survivalist torture kind of movie. Not that I'm necessarily against it. Like, there've been plenty of good movies like that. That we've seen before, and it's kind of hard to go on just the trailer alone. So who knows? Maybe once it comes out, I'll watch it and be like, oh no, it's surprisingly pretty good. But just judging from this, it doesn't really seem like it's doing anything that like new or different or stylistically interesting that kind of got me excited for it.
Yeah, it's I thought the trailer looked okay. Like it didn't look bad necessarily. It looked at his style. It plays a lot with the sunset and stuff. It's a very bright horror movie. There's a lot of like harsh like daylight in your eyes and all that kind of stuff. It looks like this woman kind of goes a little bit mad and like takes the fight to them over, which is always fun potentially. But yeah. I mean, I like seeing some of the actors that I recognized in there, I suppose. So
yeah. I'm not against it. It just didn't really do anything special. I thought it was kind of funny. They kept having like quotes from like critics throughout the trailer, but it was all like the same critic. So I was like, that did kind of worry me because I'm like, okay, well, has maybe just not a lot of people seen it, or was there only like one guy that like liked it?
I kind of want to see a trailer where it's like. A fantastic thrill ride, and then it's credited to like John Doe or something.
Yeah,
John Smith. I like it. So no, that's Ravage. It looks okay. Like I mean, it could very well end up being pretty solid. But obviously, we just have the trailer to go on here. Next up, we got a trailer for Random Acts of Violence, and this is
based off a comic book.
Yeah. This is about a comic book writer who writes horror comics. I noticed the knockoff DC logo on the comic book and the trailer. The spin one.
Yeah.
And basically, he writes a lot of horror comics, and he's out with his friends, and he wants to go on this trip, and he's basically looking for inspiration in the heartland of America. And they come across this, this serial gas station, and ultimately the plot is that there's a killer recreating the kills from his comic book, sort of hunting him and his friends. So that's the gist of it. What did you think of this trailer?
I'm actually kind of excited for this one. I don't remember much about it, but I did read the comic back in the day. It's from Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, who like there was a time where they were doing I think they still do it, but not as much anymore. But there was like a period where they're doing like a lot of Kickstarter books for these kind of just like, you know, like 50, 60-ish page, like kind of one-shot stories. They're usually like either horror-ish or like kind of, you know, action-y, gory kind of stuff, but they're all pretty good. And yeah, the only thing I really remember from the comic is that at one point they're talking about an incident with Mark Waid where he gets like kind of kidnapped. Like these like two guys that were like really big fans of his, like asked him to do a Comic-Con, and like they flew him out and like picked him up from the airport and like drove him around. And then at some point Mark Waid like starts to realize that there's no actual Comic-Con. It was just like these kids just like wanted to meet him. So I remember they mentioned that in the book, and then actually went to a signing with Mark Waid and asked him if it was a true story, and he was like, "Oh yeah." So that's kind of terrifying, but
I mean, I'm happy Mark Waid survived and nothing bad happened.
Definitely,
to him, it's good to know.
They weren't like, I think he said like, "Oh, like yeah, I didn't think that they were dangerous kids or anything. Like they were just kind of like fans, but it's still not a nice thing to do."
No, it's just
obviously
it's kind of creepy. So,
but I mean, that being said, though, like I do remember liking the book, and then this trailer, I thought it looked okay. I'm intrigued.
It looked okay. I mean, what I'll say about this one, the last one, is that I didn't think either one looked like a sort of a VOD looking movie. They looked like they were movies per se, with like actual actors and stuff. I think what stuck out to me about this is that it looks okay, and then there's like sudden, just this little glimpses of what looks like good gore that might really elevate the film as a whole. So yeah, I am intrigued. So this one's actually Shudder is doing this. Shudder's putting this out on August 20th, so maybe look for us covering that towards the end of August next month. But which is August. I mean, next month is August, right. So it was kind of redundant what I said there. But you know what I mean, all right? So they're putting this out in the US and the UK, and also Ireland, which, I mean, most of the time you don't have to bother saying Ireland too. You just assume it's included with the UK, even though it's not part of the UK. But so yeah, it's August 20th. This could be good. And then next up, we get a trailer for one. I remember talking about the news story for this one. And this is the Killer Jeans horror movie, Slaxx. And I remember, I was talking about this and saying, well, it kind of depends the tone of it and like what sort of like style they're going for. So yeah, it's about a pair of killer jeans, basically. It's not really much. There was a lot more because the company that makes these jeans, or the store that sells them, it was like Super Slacker or something like that, or Super something, and the logo looked very like SS, and not just because it was two S's. It looked very it looks like the Nazi SS sort of symbol, and I feel like that might play into it in the movie. Maybe it'll reveal some like that its origins comes from some sort of weird experiment sort of thing. But I don't know. But yeah, I thought this trailer was surprisingly kind of fun, kind of funny in places. My favorite thing in the whole trailer is there's like two characters debating in the bathroom. Like one says like they think there's a serial killer in the building with them, because it seems like they get trapped in the building for most of the movie. That seems to be the main bulk of it. And the other guy's like, "Well, you think there's a serial killer?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then it cuts to what they're looking at, and it's this woman who's been just like cut into pieces, and there's like innards like it looks like the most brutal killing that anyone's ever stumbled in. It's like, yeah, there's a killer in here.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think this looks like a lot of fun. And I think I mentioned it before. It's always tough with these movies because like they always... It always seems like a stretch to have a full length movie for this. Like, when I think of like stuff like, Killer Sofa or whatever, where it's like, all right, or that one about the table, the wrestling tables, like it's like, a lot of this stuff you can see as being a really funny, spoof trailer or a 5-minute internet short, but it just loses
It
that
takes
kind of humor when you stretch it out and try to actually do something with it. But
it
I
takes
think
talent, I think. Yeah, it takes
yeah,
like, and this comes from the producer of Turbo Kid, and not producer doesn't necessarily always mean a whole lot,
right,
but I can kind of see
yeah,
a correlation with that movie a little bit in this.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Some of the kills look fun. Like, you see like Gene strangling people and cutting off fingers with a zip and stuff like that.
yeah,
It looks honestly, I'm kind of into this from this
yeah.
trailer.
No, I'm like yeah, I'm into it. It's I think at the very least I'm intrigued now versus when I first kind of heard it.
Mm.
It sounded a little like I kind of just rolled my eyes like okay whatever dumb internet meme kind of humor thing. But like looking at it now, it's like okay, no, it seems like they actually put thought into us um, and maybe have enough to do with it to make it feel like an actual movie. So cool.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have a date yet, but hopefully with the trailer, because this is a festival trailer, so it may be a little bit away from us getting access to this necessarily, but hopefully it's this year, and it looks surprisingly good. So we'll keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. Next up, we get a trailer for The Honeymoon Phase, which is a movie where a young couple who are getting married agree to some kind of weird like experiment because they're going to get paid. Was it 50 grand? They said in the trailer, and they have to live in a house that's provided for them, and presumably they're given stuff, and it's like a social experiment or something. But as the trailer goes on, you see that they're basically start to see things and hallucinate and maybe go crazy to the point where they may actually be dangerous to each other. Are these things they're seeing stuff that's been shown to them? Is the guy really going crazy? That was kind of the general idea I was getting from it. What did you make of this one?
It didn't really interest me too much, to be honest. I'm definitely willing to give it a shot. Like it looks like it has some ideas in it for sure. But yeah, I don't think anything really like stuck out too much to me. But,
I'm not super enthusiastic either. It's the sort of thing where I almost wanted to just sort of back out of the trailer when I started it, but then it kind of kept going. I was like, okay, there's definitely something here, and it looks like a real movie, which is one of my qualifiers for should we talk about this, unless it's so absurdly insane that that we'll talk about like a really cheap looking home movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of the one that I'm maybe the most blandest on out of the batch this week. But the whole thing is that they're isolated in like a smart home, like a futuristic smart home. So I maybe there'll be some wacky twists in this. I don't know, but that's just the things. And the final trailer we got this week is called Follow Me. As the trailer puts it, hashtag follow me. And it's about this combines a couple of things. It combines a protagonist who's an influencer who does videos and vlogs and that kind of thing. And you may be forgiven, Tim, if you thought to yourself, this might be Escape Room 2. It is not Escape Room 2. However, it is from the director of Escape Room. I got really confused watching this trailer because it said from the director of, and it just said Escape Room, and I'm like, wait, what? This is clearly an Escape Room movie. It's just not called Escape Room. So there is an Escape Room 2 coming. There's an Escape Room 2 in production, or was in production, but this is not Escape Room 2. But it's from the director of Escape Room, and it's about an escape room in Russia with all these characters. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's very confusing because it starts off like with this, influencer guy that seems to be like he goes around all over the world trying dangerous stuff. So yeah, you start off being like, okay, so it's gonna be that type of movie. Like, okay, obviously he's gonna go somewhere that he shouldn't be and encounter something that's actually dangerous instead of like, probably like the more staged kind of danger that he usually puts himself in. But then it turns out the thing that he's going to is an escape room. So as soon as you hear that, you're kind of like, oh, okay, that sounds like Escape Room. But then in the trailer, the words come up from the director of Escape Room, and you're like, oh, okay, so wait, is this Escape Room 2? But yeah, I'm glad you cleared that up because I was kind of like, all right, they're just not calling it Escape Room 2, but it's like a spiritual sequel or something.
I know. This is your... I want to say knockoff. This is like when Sean Connery went and made a James Bond movie with another company that's not an official James Bond movie.
it's kind of like well, I mean, maybe not the best example, but like I don't know, like when what's his face James Wan did like The Conjuring or whatever. It's like, all right, well, it's not exactly Insidious, but it has like a lot of
Mm.
the same people and kind of like still like a similar tone and everything. But um yeah, I don't know. It is kind of funny. I mean, as for the trailer itself, I don't really care about it, but I mean the lead person looks annoying, and I mean I like the idea of escape rooms, but like, you know, escape room didn't necessarily live up to the potential of it possibly, but
Mm.
I mean, if the escape rooms in this are cool, that'd be great, but you don't really see it in the trailer. Like, they don't really show what the kind of danger they're gonna be in is, or whatever.
Yeah. Uh, it's
I,
it's got that nastier kind of Saw look to it, because that's what it says in the description. It's Saw meets escape room, which, I
oh,
mean,
great.
I would argue that the first Saw is kind of an escape room in a lot of ways anyway, but
Sure. Yeah.
you know, this looks like one that's probably going to be mediocre or annoy me.
Yeah.
Which means we'll definitely do it, because I'm a
Of
glutton for punishment.
yeah.
Sometimes knowing that I'm putting Tim through misery is enough to get me through
But then it's usually the movies I like. So.
it. Yes, Tim's been reprimanded this week. There's been too much boyganda on the on the streams at Streams Midnight Twitter, which you should all go follow for shenanigans.
And people seem to like it.
Yes, well, our fans like our show, so they're clearly questionable in the logic department and taste department. But yeah, that's the news though. That wraps up everything that we're going to talk about this week. So obviously, look forward to the review episodes coming. We got one, obviously. Typically speaking, there's one after the day after the news, if there's a news episode. So look forward to the next one. Of course, I will thank our Patreon producers for the month at this juncture. So thank you to Alison M4 Dice, Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, and Zammer Jammer. They are all $20 or above patrons on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But you, of course, don't have to support us for such an amount. You can support us for as little as $1 per month and feel warm and fuzzy for supporting the content and keeping all the episodes coming. And for that $1, you get a bonus episode of Streams After Midnight every month, an extra movie review episode exclusive to Patreon, as well as a bonus episode of the Ace, the sci-fi podcast that I do with Tara. So you can go check that out. $5 gets you early access by a day to all the movie review episodes, and you get to vote on an episode once per month as well. So please do go check it out, see if you're interested in any of that and you want to support us. Liking is very important on YouTube. Lets YouTube know that you think we're worth recommending out and more people will find us, so that's a nice free way to support us. And then, of course, as I said, get us on Twitter at Streams Midnight. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we will see you next time.